No, not this one, Dave. Not this one. Flip it over. That was last night. Are we up here? I guess we are. Good morning, good morning. Did you miss something? Don't panic. It's just more printing. It was just more owl printing. Special invitation, was it? I don't think so. Yeah, last night, whatever, what can I say? I was here printing, so of course, why not just turn the camera on? So it wasn't planned, but there was work to do. I had no choice to get it done, so I just turned the stream on. There's a bunch of European friends who don't normally get a chance to watch this, but... Okay, today's stream, I got a small problem with this one today. I know. Not a problem with the work. The work is going to proceed okay. The problem is there's not enough work here on my desk this morning to fill a whole 90 minutes. Because I got busy last night with this, because I really kept going last night. I've got two colors left on this one. I've got the brown block highlight on the owl. And then, somewhere if I can find it, I've got the green block. And I've only got about 45 sheets of paper. So there's no way this is going to take the normal 90 minutes that we do for these streams. So I might be finishing early and getting on with some desk work or something. I don't know. Okay, let's do a test here. Looks like an owl. Let's do this. We watch Dave does spreadsheets. Patrons, now how many did we lose? I don't know. I haven't checked it. Let's have a look. The interesting thing though, some people did leave the Patreon, and they wrote, many, not all of them, but some of them wrote to me. Oh, it's back up 3 this morning from last night, so maybe it's stabled out. We lost 20 odd, I don't remember exactly. I think I said last night nearly 30 or something. It wasn't that many, it was 20 odd, and now it's back up 3 more today. So I guess it's not going to impact me, but it's going to impact the Patreons, which I really am not happy with, you know. The other thing about the Patreon change, though, that there's an aspect to it here that perhaps a lot of people don't understand. There really is a thing here that Patreon has had trouble with, and they've been struggling with how to change it and fix it. And this is stage 1 of what they're trying to do to fix it. It's the problem, it doesn't affect my Patreon, but it affects the problem like people who upload special content on videos or have a special video channel only for Patreons. Upton, our Patreon charges on the 1st of each month. So you've had people that sort of joined on the 2nd of the month, enjoyed the content all the way through the month, and then left before the end of the month so they didn't have to pay. So Patreon's trying to switch to a system where each person has their own charging date. If you started on the 10th of the month, you get paid you pay on the 10th of the month, and you pay on the 10th of the next month and the 10th of the next month. And the problem is if they do that is they lose the bulk deal that they had with the credit card processors where everything was charged all at one time. So this is really step 1 in something that is a bigger picture than perhaps many people realize. So. This brown, now same as with the black, I'm varying my pressure. We don't normally do this, but I'm varying the pressure here. I'm putting good pressure on the owl, and I'm tapering off to the end. So we're going to end up with a brown that's solid in the middle, but that is, what's the word? Will the camera focus here or not? I don't know. So the brown is solid on the owl, but it's vague at the ends. That's sort of tapering out, and we don't normally do this with the Baron. We do our tapering in the brushes, not in the Baron. Okada Prince, isn't that guy something else, nay? That's a good, what Francis Hanga here is referring to is some Prince we were talking about on the stream last night. Francis, Francis, I keep calling you Frank. William, can you pop that image in that we had last night? Or not the image, the link? Looking good. I think we have a good balance here. National treasure. You're talking about Okada Yoshio-san. He's not very well regarded here in Japan. He's a quote-unquote illustrator. He's done most of his work doing illustrations in Sunday newspapers. There was a long tradition. Maybe there still is. I'm not a newspaper reader here in Japan so much. On Sundays, they would have sort of literature pages and stuff like that. Color Sunday supplement kind of thing. I think this happens in British newspapers too. And he made a career out of doing illustrations for those stories. So he's regarded here as an illustrator rather than as a respected artist. So he's in his 80s now, I think, 83 or something. Wait a minute, I'm not sure about that. The comment about the Sosaku artists as illustrators. I don't think so. I don't know. The Sosaku artists, remember, these are people who are cutting and printing by themselves. Illustrators, somebody like Okada-san, we're talking about, he simply does drawing. He wouldn't ever dream of trying to make prints by himself. And also, he's nothing to do with the printmaking world. Simply that set of prints that I bought years ago, some publisher had the idea to make woodblock prints. They came to him and said, can we, license some of your designs for prints? But Okada-san himself has nothing to do with the world of printmaking. Maybe he respects it or not, I don't have any idea. This one last night, it got too much black. Now I dipped my brush in on the black a bit too much, so it's come out a bit too distorted, the colors. The black's too dark. If I didn't tell anybody, I guess it would be okay, but whatever. Yeah, the blue has changed, right? Somebody's noticing that there. Oh, actually, it's not the thing overall. What is it? Let me find a sample here. Hang on a sec. Last night I was having real trouble. The paper sizing is very poor on this group. Here's what we have in normal blue. And some of the ones I was doing last night, because I had to do the background 3 times, they came out quite a bit more saturated. So if this was an artist's type print we were doing, if Jed was watching over me, we couldn't vary the color too much. But because Hiroshige's been gone for all these years, there's no master copy anymore. So that gives us some freedom. We can, some of the prints we make can have a slightly darker blue, deeper blue. If it was a perfect world and we were a perfect workshop and everything was perfect, then they would all be exactly the same. But that paper last night was I was really struggling with it. Well, each one is unique is not the idea. That's not our philosophy. Our philosophy is everyone is exactly the same. It's the goal. In the real world, they turn out to be, how close you look, they turn out to be unique. But the goal is to make them as similar as we can. Maybe that's the nominal average for these. This is a better light balance on this camera there. We're not finished yet. There's one more leaf color to go in. The owl team, nay. This might be the last little batch we're going to see for a while. I say that with some question mark, some hesitation. We're now at the post office. Excuse me. We're now at the post office deadlines. So people ordering now, we will send it straight away, of course, but the post office no longer guarantees that a package sent now will arrive at its destination globally before December 25th. It's quite possible it still will, but they will no longer, put that on their guarantee. So because we've got that on the website, on the order page, orders now have dropped dramatically. So it's good, we knew that. So what's coming up over the next few days, weeks? For me now, the carving is finished on that first print from next year's subscription series. And Ishikawa-san yesterday, she was here. She did a test print of it. I don't have the print for you, but you can see these are the blocks that I was carving the last few days. The yellow block for that print, the skin color block, the brown block, and I think she's put the gray block back on my workbench downstairs because I've got to do some recutting. So she did the test printing for me. I'll recut the gray block, and then sometime in the next few days now I have to make a video showing the printing of that first print in the new subscription series. That'll be my project, I guess. What's today? Today's Sunday. That'll be my project, I guess, for Monday. The shop's going to be busy today because it's a weekend. Oh, you got a print, did you? Thank you. Oh, you sent me a picture earlier today. No, where did I see it? You posted on the fan blog. That's right. What am I doing here? Okay. We've got this thing today. The girls prepared the paper for this. 45 sheets. It's in 4 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've just finished one group, this color. So I'll put it in, scoop out the second group. Here we go. So here we are, the same print now, without the brown yet. This is what's happening this morning. You can see the owl brown is not on there yet. So. That blog post you made on the fan page there yesterday, the new print you just received, and you're saying something like, I don't know, my iPhone or whatever, I forget the exact words you said. I can't get a good picture with your camera phone or something. And can I make a hint or whatever, how you could do this? Whatever, take your package there, whether the print is inside it or outside of it, whatever, doesn't matter. You've got that package with the print inside. Go to a north-facing window. Turn the room lights off. Go to a north-facing window, put it on the table, and the light coming through the window. Then shoot the picture there of that print, and it'll be totally dramatically different. That's the best way to look at those things. North-facing window, assuming you're in the northern hemisphere, if you're in Australia, whatever. Away from the sunshine was the point. No direct sunlight. Just natural light coming in the window. And shoot the print, and it'll be totally, totally different. Color gradations. There is a video. I don't have a specific video only about color gradations, but if you go back on the YouTube channel, back about a few months, look for the video called a Hiroshige reproduction. Here, I'll just put it in. Somebody's asking about color gradations. If you watch, oops, where is it? If you watch this video later, it's a print that has a whole bunch of color gradations in it, and I put the camera on top of the bench shooting down on the printer doing the work. So you'll get a very, very, very good overview of exactly how we do the color gradations. I think there's 1, 2, 3 of them on that print. I'm not sure, I don't remember exactly, but the burn's getting a bit dry and tight, so it's time for a bit of lubrication. We've got a little squirt bottle with some camellia oil inside it. You see the shininess? Too much and it would get onto the paper. And then rotating. Yeah, much better. Zoom, zoom, zoom. I let it go a bit too long there. Light bit of oil and lots of rotation. Do the prints fully dry before going in the mailer? You mean before we post them? Yeah, I mean, that's my job this morning. At the moment, the paper is moist. It's not wet, soggy wet. It's moist. It stays moist right to the end of the printing process. That's why I don't know if you can see. I'm keeping it inside plastic. I'm pulling from here, printing and putting it in here. So it stays nice and moist. Once the printing is finished, you know, somewhere in an hour from now, when I'm finished these 2 colors, I take the papers out, the sheets out, leave them open to the air for about 5 minutes or so. It's winter here in Japan, so they start to dry very quickly. I leave them open to the air for about 5 minutes or so, and then we put them in, boards. We've got heavy boards, not wood, and I'm made of, what's the word, borigami, not cardboard. I don't know what the name for the stuff is, just these boards, the paper goes in between till it's dry. And these prints today, the prints we're making right here today, I'm printing now at 8:30. I'll be finished by 9:30. I'll dry them, they'll be in the boards. They can sit 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Somewhere after lunch, we'll pull them out, check them, throw out the bad ones, keep the good ones, wrap them up, and they will be posted this afternoon to our Ome workshop. Then Ome, the women over there, the women will be coming to the Ome workshop on Monday morning, tomorrow morning, packing these and sending them. So these prints are actually already sold for the most part. I know Ome called me a few days ago, we're getting minus. There's too many orders for the owls to make some more. So that's what we're doing here. These prints are for the most part already sold. They will be flying out of our workshop tomorrow night's mail. Oh, questions. They don't dry instantly, but they do dry pretty quick in a Japanese winter. Cardstock, something like that, It's not a cardboard with wibbly lines. It's flat stuff. I don't have a piece near me, I'm sorry. Whatever, you can get the idea. No, we're confusing 2 things. This above us was answering my question about how we're drying the prints between these heavy boards. It's not washi paper. What's this selfie? Send me a copy. People don't do that actually. We do 3 or 4 a day, and very, very rarely do I get a copy, but whatever, can't be helped. Looking good. That's 1, 2. Here's a third group of 4. Vegetarian stuff. I know it's okay in Japan these days. Now it depends on how strict, quote, strict unquote you are. I know it's very easy to get meals that are nominally vegetarian. You know, there's no meat in them. You're getting a vegetable fry up or something like this or whatever. The problem is that in the background in the kitchen, most of the things are made with a stock, a soup stock that is made on a fish base. You're never quite sure what you're getting unless you go to a restaurant that is absolutely quote unquote vegetarian in real vegetarian terms. But any restaurant in the country uses fish as the base for the stock. So if you're okay with that, then you can certainly get meals that have no meat in them. Look at this Instagram link. So people have been posting them, have they? Was Dave on the right stuff? I don't know what you mean. I've never heard of that. It must be a different Dave Bull, I think. It's a pretty common name in Britain, my name. Don't know if you can hear outside. There's a bunch of chatting outside. There's a coffee shop across the street, and it's Sunday morning here. And the community association, the people that live near here, you know how it is in Japan. They're very tight community associations, And Sunday they do a cleaning deal. This has nothing to do with the businesses here. I've talked about that before. The businesses on the street have their own, commerce association, and they do cleaning and stuff once a month. This is the local, just the people that live here. And day by day, everybody's keeping control and cleaning up in front of their own house. But they don't go much beyond their own house. They sweep up and pick up garbage and whatever might have been left from the night before, because there's a lot of bars around here. So people do that every day in front of their own building. Well, once a week or so, Sunday morning, they get together around 7 o'clock or so, and they go a bit farther afield. They go out to the park and stuff like this, and they clean up areas that don't get touched, because they're sort of not anybody's specific responsibility. And that's at 7 o'clock every Sunday morning or so. And now, after they're finished, they gather at the coffee shop and chat. They're just breaking up now to go home 9 o'clock. And most of them these are not kids, these are not young people, they're my age or older. They're real sort of community members. And the city office, the city hall, really encourages this kind of stuff. They obviously want to keep the town clean, but what the city office wants is that they want older people getting out of their houses, talking to each other, doing stuff, being part of the community. They're trying to avoid this situation where people are isolated, sitting in their house, people in their 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. So the city office encourages this, helps finance it, helps fund it, keeps it going. It's a real win-win-win all around. The community is cleaner, happier, and healthier. It's not perfect. There are still people, I'm sure, who end up being isolated and don't join in this kind of stuff. One of the first, it must have been probably the first Sunday I was here, I guess, or one of the first Sundays. I get up and I think, I don't want my own granola. I go across the restaurant there to the coffee shop. I go in the door. It must have been about 8:30 or something. I have no idea. And I sit down in the middle of the empty coffee shop. I sit down at this table. There's like room for 6 people. And the waitress comes over to me and says, Mokuhankan, and please, you can't sit there. And I'm like, it's an empty coffee shop, Sunday morning at 8:30. What's going on? She tells me I can't sit here. And I was at two minds. I was just going to say, leave me alone. But I remember, you're in Japan, Dave, whatever. You're going to be living in this community, so just whatever. So I went sort of, okay, whatever you want. Hi. And I went over to sit at the counter with my newspaper by myself, And then, of course, she knew what was happening. Like 10, 15 minutes later or 2 minutes later, whatever it was, bang, in comes all these people after they're cleaning. And they've all got their own little groups. A group of 6 women sit there at that table exactly where I was sitting, And the waitress knew this was coming up. So, So once I saw that, I got the idea, okay, hi, Dave, be a good boy, just do what you're told and bit by bit fit into this community, So they don't expect me at this point to take part in that stuff, I haven't actually been asked to join the community association yet. I've only been here 3 years. I'm a new kid on the block. There's no hostility, nothing like that. Everybody's friendly, they greet me, whatever. But I got to be here a while before they will consider inviting me into their groups. When you're chatting about meat mostly, are you in the thing here? No idea. Dave, do I have to pay for it every month? I'm not sure what you're talking about here. I mean, the community association, there are dues for it, but they're nominal. Not 2,000 yen a month, about 2,000 yen per year or so. The stream last night was a one-off. Please don't wait today. The stream last night was a bit of a special case. Simply, I had work to do. These prints have to be sent Monday. And last night, my schedule was such that I won't have time today to do all the printing on this. So I had an open slot last night, so I started printing last night. And of course, because I was printing, I turned the camera on. So it's not going to be a regular, I'm sorry. How tough was it to learn Japanese? Well, I'm still learning, I've never done the real thing, like get the textbooks and classrooms and do all that stuff. I've never done that. So there's lots of aspects to Japanese that I don't know. Someone like our new face near Cameron, he's actually gone to college, took Japanese 101, Japanese 201, 301, whatever it was. He went through the whole thing. So he knows a lot more about Japanese than I do. He knows a lot more of the compounds. He studied actual reading and writing. He knows much more of that than I do. But in terms of getting around in daily life, I run rings around him. Not run rings around him, I can get around him. He made a phone call the other day, which was kind of clumsy. I get by, even without having studied, I get by. But studying is better, I guess. You pick up lots more stuff that I would have missed otherwise, It depends on your personality. You know, if you're just the kind of person that can jump in and try things, then that's the way it is. If you're the kind of person like most Japanese people who want to study and get it right before you expose yourself to the real world, then it's a different story. Okay, where are we here? We're in the fourth group of this. Okay, got one, two, three sheets on this color. Then we'll switch the block. So if you're bored with this brown, just hang on a minute. New color coming up in a minute. Oops. Okay, there's this color finished. I think that's the last brown one. Next up, green. Excuse me. Somewhere I've got the block. Where it is? It must be on the back of the blue, I think. There we go. Now this is the last block. What is it? It's 39 o'clock. The pigment just left over from the last printing session. It's dried out in the bowl. You can see now our powder pigments. This is green, but we don't have any such thing as a green powder. This was made, I don't know, whatever. A bit of blue in there, a bit of yellow in there. I think there's a bit of black in there as well. Grind it up, grind it up, grind it up. And we're seeing green, and if you even look under a microscope, you see green. But at some point, way down in the molecular level of this, it must be blue and yellow still separate, I guess. I don't know. Those of you who have done our print party, you know most of the blocks we're using for our print party. There's no green blocks on the bench. We print blue, and then we overlay it with yellow. That makes green. But this block is different. We've actually carved a green block, and we do the mixing in the bowl rather than on the paper surface of the paper. But it's really important to us. We have no green pigment. We don't have anything. We have no purple, no green, no brown. All we have are basic primaries. A couple of different kinds of blue. A cool blue, a warm blue, a dirty red, a pure red, a yellow and black, and that's all we have. It's our pride that we don't buy pigments, we make them. I mean, we don't buy colors, we make them. The people doing Japanese painting, they go in their pigment shop and it's hundreds and hundreds of different tones of green. And they choose the one they want. We don't do that. It's our pride to make them. That brush is a little bit too big. I think I'm going to go get a smaller brush. Just a second. Back in a moment. So. Questions. How did my parents react when I said I was going to live in Japan? It's nothing to do with them. I didn't even ask them. I know they themselves, when they were kids, how old were they? I was 5, so they must have been 29. My parents, when they were 29, they emigrated from Britain over to Canada. And that's the pre airline era. This was on a boat, and actually I was on there. It was the Empress of Scotland. We emigrated from England to Canada, and in those days emigration meant sayonara, it meant goodbye. You weren't going to see anybody ever again. So they had done that themselves to their parents. So they had done it to their parents, but they had emigrated themselves. So when I came along a generation later and went over to Japan, they're just like, whatever, it's nothing to do with us, you know. It's not a life-ending, life-changing thing, you know, I mean, like it was in the old days, you know. That might be a bit too deep there, just a minute. It was too strong, eh? Way too strong. The first 1, 2, 3, you know, they're always adjustments. Little leaf islands, eh? So it's exactly what they are. Still a bit too dark. Yeah. Wasabi. So. Do I not get the same color every time? It's a different kind of print. I don't know, when we're doing something like the Heroes prints, we're doing the rickshaw cart print from Jed. We've got the model that he gave us 5 years ago, and we get almost exactly the same. I know, exactly the same. A little print like this, I'm not being actually that critical. I should, whatever, because people are watching, should I be? Perhaps, I don't know. When it's important to us, when there's an artist involved, when there's a viewpoint involved, when he wants a certain color, we do it as really close as we can. Take the time and trouble to mix it exactly right. A little casual print like this, I am by definition a bit more casual. So. I don't know if you were watching these streams when we first started this print a few months ago. We found online 3 versions of it. I think there was a version in the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, one in the Honolulu Academy. I can't remember the third one. And they were totally, absolutely, grossly different because the original publisher hadn't cared at all about keeping the prints identical, you know. That's better. There we go. Okay. What is this? If you mean how many centuries old do I feel, that's a different story. Speaking about that trip, when we immigrated, it was 1957. We got on a boat called the Empress of Scotland in Liverpool, which was the point of disembarkation in England. And back in those days, I don't remember none of this. I was only 5 years old. I remember none of it. Back in those days, there were things called passenger manifests. I guess maybe they still have these. I don't know. Anyway, it turns out that the stuff from that era, people who are studying like genealogy and tracing their ancestors and that sort of stuff, I don't do that, but there are people who have a big deal about that. So these people have taken all stuff like those old passenger manifests and whatever, scanned them and put them up online. And one day somebody sent me a link to this one. They sent me a link to this, and it was the passenger manifest from like August of 1957. And there they are. On the manifest, there's these three people. Betty Bull, which was my mother. And then it had Dave Bull and Infant Bull, which was my brother, who was 2. So he didn't even get his name on there. He just listed as an infant. And everybody has their occupation on there. And my mother's, Betty Bull, it's listed as housewife. Whatever. That's the era, 1957. That's the way they did. Then there's other stuff like nurse or teacher, whatever. And these were mostly, women and children. In our case, my father had come across first to Canada to go and find a job and stuff. And when he'd got it all worked out, he had telegraphed back, here we go, come on over. So these ocean liners it wasn't uncommon for a woman and kids to be on them by themselves. And the passenger manifest lists us. It's so funny. It's got Betty Bull, housewife. And it's got my brother, Simon Bull, infant. And it's got Dave Bull. And it says, I quote you, it says, Dave Bull, 5 years old, scholar. And when I saw this, I'm like, what? I think simply that's the word that would have been used for student. At 5 years, I'd been in school already a couple of years. And there it is, Dave Bull, scholar, emigrated from Britain to Canada in 1957, and I have the documentation to prove it. Yeah. Yes, a gentleman and a scallop. Are you being funny, or is that autocomplete? You say smart baby, but the culture was different back then, This is really interesting compared to what we are now. A place like North America, where I basically grew up. You started school when you were like 6 years old, you go to grade 1, whatever. And this I partly remember, actually, because in the Britain where I had grown up in the 50s, you didn't start school at 6. And I've got a report card. My mother's got this stuff. She's got a report card from me, the first school I went to. And I was 3.5. And it was a place called Newnham College Preparatory School. And it's the documentation. I was 3.5 years old when I started. So I'd been going there for like a year and a half before we emigrated to Canada. So I could basically, at an easy level, I could read and write. We go across to Canada. I'm 5, nearly 6. They dumped me in grade 1 because you just became 6 years old. You go to grade 1. And these kids are like doing A is for apple, B is for ball, C is for cat, and whatever. And I'm sitting there reading the newspaper, not because I'm smarter than them, but because the education system was structured about a whole different way. So. One and a scholar, so. So it was a word, I guess. It was a word, you know. Dave Bull, 5-year-old scholar. Me and my friend Einstein, right? Is that how it worked? It's come out pretty good, you know. We got this nice fuzzy balance of these colors. They look like they're in the gloom. Very, very cute little print. Yeah, the boat, that was interesting. I know it got renamed, of course, you know, it was taken as a troop ship, I read. There's lots of history about these things online. That boat was, I don't know, what's the word? The government took it, I know, to use as a troop ship. In later years, and actually when the internet first came up, I did a bunch of looking up. My mother was curious about that trip, so I looked up a bunch of stuff. I found some old menus and some old maps of the passenger cabins and stuff like that, and got them off my mom. You know, I don't remember the boat at all, but she remembered it. And they were in the steerage class, which was, you know, the back of the bus, bottom of the boat, back of the bus, whatever. You know. There must have been, you know, first class, X class, and down at the bottom what you had steerage, you know, the slave decks or whatever, I don't know. I don't remember it at all. Requisitioned, that's it. So. Am I a citizen? No, I'm too. I'm British. I have a British passport, or I'm eligible for a British passport. I was born in England, and I became a Canadian in the early 60s. So I have 2 citizenships. I have dual nationality, and in Japan, I'm what they call Eiju. I'm a permanent resident here in Japan. I've been here now long enough, and I'm established enough that if I asked for citizenship, if I put the application in for Japanese citizenship, it would be granted with no problem. Clearly, I've paid my dues here, but at the moment, I have no plans to do that. Oops, I'd have banged it there. Got away with it. Is there a reason why one side of the pins? Yeah. You're talking about the paper, are you? The paper up at the top here still got the edge of the... We haven't been trimmed. They'll be trimmed before they're shipped. That's not my job. That's the packing ladies. They'll be trimming it. I know the paper we get from the paper maker isn't this big. It's much larger sheets. So depending on the jobs that are coming up or what combination of jobs are coming up, when we do the sizing of the paper, we cut it into, you know, cut the big sheets into 3 or 4 or whatever. And then to get the paper ready for printing, we slice it up to fit. And I asked the girls got this paper ready for me 2 days ago, and they just left it at the edge. They knew that all I need is the bottom and this area, and that's going to be wasted. So it'll be trimmed off later by the packing ladies. If I plan to stay in Japan for the rest of my life, why stay a Canadian citizen? There's a few aspects to this. I know that's an interesting question. A few aspects to it. I know Japan has a nominal rule that they only allow single citizenship. So if you become a Japanese, you are supposed to, in name at least anyway, you're supposed to relinquish your previous citizenships. They ask you to show that you are no longer Canadian, that you have told the Canadian government you don't want to be Canadian anymore, whatever. I'm not so comfortable with doing that, so that's one part of it. But the second part of it is really, Japan is a place where Japan and Canada are really quite different in one sense. When we emigrated from England, we left England, we became Canadians, we enjoyed Canadian life, and we became Canadian citizens. And it had meaning because we were Canadians. To be Canadian, it meant you live like that, you come from somewhere else, you join in and hold hands and be happy Canadians. We were typical, normal Canadians. Here in Japan, it's different. What it means to be Japanese in the minds of the people here, in their minds, not mine, but in their minds, to be Japanese means to have your roots here for hundreds of years and to be called Suzuki and to speak Japanese from birth and, whatever. They have a more strict idea of what it means to be Japanese. I'm what they call gaijin. Of course, I'm a gaijin. And even if I did the paperwork and became Japanese and hi, there's my passport, it doesn't affect anything in daily life because every Japanese person would see me and feel he is that group, that category that's called gaijin. It's just the way it works when you have a society that's been so isolated. Or, I mean, if I was in, I don't know, name your country that for many, many years didn't have too much, whatever, Afghanistan, Iran or something, Afghanis are a certain type of people. And when a white guy comes and stands there, from their point of view, he's an outsider. And even if you took the paperwork, you still don't become the kind of person that they feel of as a citizen of their country. So given that background, I don't want to play that game, do the paperwork and say, no, I'm Japanese, I'm not a foreigner, I'm Japanese, believe me. Because they won't believe me, it doesn't mean anything, So to be a citizen of Japan and to be a citizen of Canada, it's sort of a totally different concept. So for me, I don't care. It's my home, I'm happy here, I live here, my work is here, it's all cool. To get that little piece of paper, which would be a confusing thing to a great many people, it doesn't bother me at all. I don't care. The downside is I can't vote. I'm not allowed to become prime minister. I can't go and work for the police department. These are not things that I care a whole lot about. Do I pay taxes? Of course, the same as any resident, the same as any citizen. We're all taxed in exactly the same way. So that's something I could, if I want, get upset about. Taxation without representation. But you know what? I just don't care. So no, I have no plans to take citizenship. No. The dual citizenship thing, it's there in rule only. My kids are a good example. They were born in Canada, became Canadians because their father was a Canadian. They are Japanese because their mother was Japanese. When we came here, their mother did the paperwork. My kids have Japanese passports. They have the nationality papers. So my kids are 100% Japanese and also 100% Canadian. The Japanese government isn't chasing people. It didn't chase them when they became 22 and said, okay, here we are. Show us the documentation you have destroyed your Canadian citizenship. It's just now in name only. So my kids actually do have dual nationality. They are normal Japanese people with a passport and everything else, and they are normal Canadians. So even though the Japanese rules say no dual nationality, in actual practice, common sense has been ruling. It was 22, not 18. The D you have to do. The compliments, the chopstick stuff, that doesn't happen so much anymore, Japan has really now become a much more cosmopolitan place. I know when I first came here, that was the deal. So you try using chopsticks and people are all, oh my God, this creature can actually use chopsticks. It's not like that anymore. Maybe somewhere out in the boonies where people don't have much contact with foreigners, maybe. But here in a cosmopolitan city, those days are gone. If you're a tourist, and you're obviously a tourist, then they will give you those funny little compliments. Oh, it's so nice. You can say Ohio, or you can use chopsticks if you're clearly a tourist. If you're more of an obvious local, people don't do that to you anymore. So. It's so much of a more livable country now than it was when I first came here. So much more livable. where are I? Am I nearly finished? What's the count here on these groups? There's one more in this group. There's what, 2 groups left? 1 group left? I've got 2 groups left. It's okay. It's working out just well. It's 9:15. I've been a real slow poke here. Made it stretch out to the full 90 minutes instead of bashing through. Chop, 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 chop. So given that we've got 10 minutes or so left, I have to think about what's coming up next. What's tomorrow's stream? This is Sunday morning. So there's supposed to be a stream Monday morning. I'm not quite sure what to do. I've got a raft of things on my to-do list, but I'm not sure what is on the list that will make a good stream. Put that on the back there for vastness. So I'm not sure. Tuesday, that's Monday for most of you, I'll be over in Ome. It's my last trip to Ome for the year, I think. See the staff there. Take them their little December envelope. Chat with them for a while. What would happen if you spilled the wrong color paint on a block? You mean if I spilled some blue on here, we could wash it, I think. You know, I know it's not unknown to use one set of blocks and change colors on them. There's a limit to what you can do with that. Now this is a green block. If I decided I wanted these leaves to be yellow, it's not going to happen because even no matter how much I wash it, the pigment has gone into the wood, and there's no way I can wash all the green out, so I couldn't make it yellow. That's sometimes a problem for us when we're testing, but we haven't decided what to do. You might want to take a set of blocks and try it with color A and color B. And that's really difficult. You have to really work fast. You've got to get the wood wet first. Then try your color, wash it off right away before it really soaks in. And try the next color and wash it off. Because once you've done a few hundred prints with one color, that stuff has gone down and down and down into the wood. And this block is now a green block, you know. As I said, I couldn't change it back to yellow, but I could change it to a deep blue or something because green is a component of that. It's not normally a problem because, you know, we choose. We do our test printing and then go for it. We don't change colors. Where will you be next week? North America, Australia, England, Japan, China, Indonesia. Where will you be? They're all going to fly away, you know. General statistics tell us that 40% of them will end up in North America. Another 35 or 40% will be in Europe somewhere, from the Mediterranean up to Scandinavia. And then about the last 15 or 20% will be anywhere and everywhere else. Very few of our prints go to China or Korea. Those two countries don't really dig our stuff. They've got their own viewpoint about Japanese culture. The other Chinese, Taiwanese are okay. Taiwan, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, no problem. But mainland China and Korea, we do almost no business with those two places. Part of it's the internet, you know, Google and China have trouble with each other, so our website probably doesn't get much access in China. That's part of it. And Korea too. I know Google is not big in Korea. They have their own search engine, so this is a big part of it. We could perhaps optimize a little better for those two countries, but whatever, we're busy. Well, I'm coughing. I don't know. It's season change with me. I get this in the spring and I get this in the autumn, you know. I'm not always coughing, but for this couple of months, it seems it's always with me. I can't shake it off. Get into mid-deep winter, it should be okay. It's just these changing months that seem to hit me like this. You know? A bong? I do not have a bong. I don't do that stuff. People keep seeing my flask full of water on the desk there and misunderstanding what it's for. I don't smoke anything. All right, there we go. That's 3 groups out of 4. We got 1 more group. So we got about 15 prints left here for today's work. Here we are. This is the last group on this print. This is a group with no green yet. In a few minutes, they'll be ready. When I'm done here, I'm done. I'll be on my way downstairs. What's the question? When I do my own prints, I get spots where the paint doesn't go on the paper. I'm not sure what to say. I don't know if the paper is too dry or you don't have enough pigment on the block, then when you're printing, it will show a missing spot. We see this in our print party all the time. We tell people, we've got a light, we tell people rub the pigment, and when it's all shiny under the light, then take your impression. But if you're too slow, it gets all shiny, then you fool around, talk a little bit, it's drying out. If a bit of it dries, then when you put your paper on and print, it won't transfer. So if you've got spots where the pigment is not there, it could be the block is too dry, not enough pigment, the paper's too dry, you forgot to rub. I'm not quite sure. There's a number of things it could be. Okay, final group on this print. Here we go. Thinking about tomorrow's stream, you know, as I said, I don't have a specific job that needs that I can be doing under the camera, but there's the absolute job that's waiting for me that I've got to do sometime over the next couple of days. Is I've got to do the next YouTube video, which is going to involve a sequence of me printing the first subscription print in next year's series. But not printing like this, doing an edition of 100. I've got to make the video. So here's one color, mix, and here's another color, and change the camera angle and stuff like that. So I might be doing that tomorrow morning up here at the printing bench next to me here, where there's better camera angles. And if that's the case, then I won't have any chance to read, chat, and stream and talk to you guys. It'll just be a question of me putting up the stream camera at one side of the room while I get busy with my own YouTube preparation with the other camera. So if that's the case, then I won't be able, there'll be no interaction, just simply the camera will be there showing what I'm doing. So it's possible that's what will be going on tomorrow. You can see sort of from a distance what I'm doing there, but there certainly won't be interaction and chat and stuff from my end of it. So it's possible that's what I'll be doing tomorrow. And then again, it might be something different. Perhaps I'll be carving something. I don't know. I'm sorry. I can't see tomorrow. Then the next day after that, Tuesday, will be off. I'll be in Ome. And beyond that, Wednesday, I just have no idea. I'm sorry. It's too far away. When was the last time I went home? I'm not sure what you mean by home. You know, nominally my residence is the place out in Ome, but it's not a home in the sense of there's a bed and a living room and a kitchen and stuff like that. Those things don't exist there anymore. I don't know. It's now 100% workshop and storage and stuff like that. I haven't slept there for, I don't know, I can't remember, a couple of years, I guess. I don't know. I sleep most nights just here. I sleep on the floor of the print party room. Home right now, home is here, you know. Home is just this Asakusa building and the stuff that goes on inside it. And this is my home in that sense. But again, people sort of, oh, Dave, you know, you don't have time off and stuff. It's not the story. So please don't start that stuff, you know. Home for me now is wherever I am and whatever I'm doing, that's home and that's my life, you know. And we're having a great, great time. So. He isn't home, so he is at home. Hey, last cheat. Here we are. I zipped through this last batch, right? That's the pace I should have been going for the whole thing, you know. Ignore you guys and just get to work. Okay, here we are. There's the last one. Another owl. Where it will be a week from now, I have no idea. I'm very, very happy with this. I've said it too many times. It's a beautiful little design. We've done a really beautiful job making it. We've done a beautiful job exposing it to people around the world. And this little guy is he's playing his part in bringing this beauty of woodblock printmaking to so many people, you know. It just doesn't get any better than this. time is it? Oh, I gotta get downstairs. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry about the little, guerrilla stream last night that some of you missed. It was just a chance to do some work, and I turned the camera on. It baffles me not to have a bedroom. Whatever. I'm unconscious at night anyway, It's not like I bring guests back to a bedroom. Let's leave that alone. All right, thanks very much for watching, guys. I'll be doing something tomorrow. I don't know what it is. I'll be doing something tomorrow. I hope it's interesting. Thanks for watching again. See you next time. Beautiful sunny day near Tokyo now. Bye-bye. Where's my mic? Hi, 3, 2, 1.